Hello YouTube, Sam here from youtube.com/onlivegamer for the new Boston, and in this tutorial we're going to be looking at arrays. Now, let's say you have a bunch of values that you want to be stored as the same name, such as classes or clients or something like that, but you can't create the same variable over and over again. So what you can do is create an array which has one name, but it can hold a bunch of different values. So let's go ahead and create a little demo project to take a look and see how arrays work. So we'll go ahead and click New Project. We will select Windows Forms Application, and we will set the name to Arrays, and we'll go ahead and click OK. Now we will make our form a little bit bigger, and we'll open the toolbox, and we will add a button and a list box. So we'll stretch out the list box a bit. We'll close out of the toolbox, and then we'll make the button a little bit bigger. So we will set the name of the list box to list arrays. So we will just type list arrays, and we'll set the name of the button to button add array. Now we'll set the text value to add array elements. So we'll just go ahead and double click on add array elements to open up the click handler for that. So now what we need to do is come down here and create a sub that will clear the list. So private sub clear list. Now inside of this we'll type list arrays.items.clear. So this will clear all the items in the array, and we're going to be using clear list a lot, and it's easier to type clear list than it is to type all this out right here. So whenever the user clicks button add array, we want to go ahead and clear the list just in case there's anything else in there. And now what we need to do is declare our array. So to do this, we'll type dim, and then we're going to specify a name for our array. So string classes, and then we're going to have two parentheses, and inside these parentheses we're going to tell the compiler how long we want our array to be. So if we type 5, it's going to be 6 elements long, because when you're counting it starts at 0, so it'll go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is 6 items. Now we have to specify what data type it's going to be, so we'll just type as string. So each one of the items in there is going to be a string. So now we'll type string classes, and now we need to reference an index of this array. So the item at the index of 0, we're going to set that equal to web design. And we'll go through and do this for each one of the items in the array. Now you can name them whatever you want. I'm just going to do classes here. So we'll type Spanish, and we'll just keep adding more. Okay, so now that we've set a value for each one of the items in our array, starting at 0 going through 5, we're going to go ahead and use a for loop to add all those items to our list. So we're going to go ahead and start off by typing for num1, or let's just do num, as integer. Now you do not have to use as integer because integer is the default for the for loop, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it anyway. So for num1 as integer, we're going to set it equal to 0 because the starting point is going to be 0, and then we're going to do 2. So let's say that we don't know the length of this array. So what we can do to get around not knowing the length, we can just do string classes dot length, and this is going to get the length of it. Now we have one problem here. It goes from 0 and then the length of string classes is actually going to be 6 because there's 6 items in here. So to fix that, we can just do string classes dot length minus 1, which will go from 0 to 5. And so now what we need to do is type list arrays dot items dot add, and we'll do string classes, and now for the index we're going to use num. So the first time this loop is run, num is going to be equal to 0, so it's going to access string classes and then at the index of 0, which is web design, and then the next time it goes through it's going to be 1, which is Spanish, and it's going to go through everything until it gets to calculus, and then it's going to stop. So if we go ahead and run this program, you can see here's our form and here's our list, and now if we click add array elements, you can see that it adds web design, Spanish, chemistry, English, history, and calculus. Now if we were to take out one of these lines right here and run it, we would get an error because you cannot reference a null value. So if you're going to go ahead and practice and make some arrays, make sure you populate the whole array before you try to print it out in a list box, or else you're going to get an error. So go ahead, practice, make a couple arrays. They don't have to be strings. They can be doubles, ints, floats, long, whatever you like. Just make sure you know how to make arrays, you know how to set the values to it, and you know how to access different parts of that array. And once you've got that down and you know you're not going to forget it, go ahead and move on to the next tutorial.